Hello there, great person. Welcome back to Let's Dive into Warhammer 40,000 lore. So last time we went along humanity to its glory days and then to its impending doom. And today we're gonna continue that journey, and I hope the Emperor is back in this one. Like last time we had some more like background lore about stuff that supposedly happened, so yeah, today we will hopefully get more about the Emperor, Age of Strife, and yeah, we're gonna watch the video by Luetin09. And so if you enjoyed the video that I'm watching, please make sure to go to his channel, like it there, watch it there first, and then come here and watch it with me perhaps. And if you like my reaction, consider subscribing, liking, all the good stuff, so I can grow the channel a bit, which is of course something I want. And we will now start with the Mysterium of the Age of Strife. And I don't know how far we get today. Perhaps we'll get through it. Let's just go.
As we learned in ancient Eldar lore, it was at this time that the Eldar out in the galaxy would fall into near total destruction.
Oh.
These would be dark days indeed, as the Eldar were almost wiped out in a cataclysmic annihilation as the Chaos god Slaanesh was born into existence from the horrifically depraved mire that Eldar society had fallen into.
Okay, I did not think they would be destroyed by lust incarnate. But I mean, she has a great personality. You know, that's the stuff. So Eldar, how was she born? What did they even do? What did they even do? Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I want to find out for myself, because the next video after Luetin's Emperor video will be full of the Eldar. So I will go to the Eldar next. But yeah, that sounds weird. And I mean, she has the Azathoth eyes around her. I think that's Azathoth, like this. Whatever.
This was a disaster for the Eldar, nearly extinguishing their light from the universe completely. But it didn't do humanity any favours either.
Why?
The near destruction of the Eldar and birth of Slaanesh only came to mark the end of the Age of Strife. What caused it prior to these events was the ever-expanding sea of psychic energy known as the Warp.
Yeah.
For many millennia, this had been growing more and more powerful, fueled by the nightmarish depravity that was Eldar society.
What? Excuse me, what? I thought it was humans that effed up. So the Eldar like made the warp more and more corrupt. I'm pretty sure someone in the comment told me that it was humanity that like, what? Oh, I can't wait for the Eldar video.
Around the end of Millennium 24 and the beginning of 25, mankind was still struggling to recover from the disastrous war against its Men of Iron and its far-reaching impact on the previously secure and strong human federation.
Yeah.
With their galactic unity destroyed, as well as suffering from the inevitable wounds of war, material shortages, mass loss of life and destruction of infrastructure,
look at that.
We would now face a new problem. Warp travel was becoming increasingly difficult.
And dangerous, I guess? Like, what's the problem here? Like, will warp rip you apart now? More than it did before?
Warp's instability, caused in part by the Eldar's depraved psychic society, meant that many ships
what
now
did they
would become
do?
lost and consumed by the warp as they were travelling through.
Okay.
This was not an issue for the Eldar themselves, as they used their webways to travel, which were outside of that warp space. For humanity, though, it would be a severe problem, and its impact would deal the fatal blow to an already fragile empire.
Okay.
The losses and damage caused by the war with the Men of Iron, combined with now being unable to travel across the warp to cross those great distances in the galaxy, would ultimately return humanity to a pre-Dark Age of technology state, where only sublight travel was possible.
Oh god, that's pretty horrific, but couldn't they like backwards engineer the Eldar drives? Like, why can't they use them? That's the first thing I would have done, is like, hey mates, you can still travel, we can't. It's your fault, give me your stuff. And then they would take their stuff. I mean, aren't they like, I don't know. But that's weird.
This was a disaster. Trade and support could no longer be conducted, as these journeys would now take generations to complete.
Yeah.
Humanity was once again isolated as it had been millennia before. The warp storms and the isolation they would create would last for over 5,000 years, and their effect on human society across the galaxy was catastrophic.
Yeah, I imagine.
Some planets with a significantly advanced human colony would survive into the future if they had the means to defend and support themselves. It's important to understand that when a system is set up with no established backup, its collapse has an immediate and profound impact. This was the case with mankind's trade system. It had grown over time to enable many planets to survive solely on imports from other rich parts of the human federation.
Oh god, that's so horrifying. Imagine you're living on your snow planet and you need blankets because you don't have seals you can club. So you need blankets from Tatooine 5 and you won't get them anymore, so you just freeze to death. Or you have to like go into a wampa. I know I'm using Star Wars stuff here as an example, but you know what I mean. That's horrifying. Yeah, it's like if suddenly we did not have, like, we would imagine living on an island group and ship trade would like break down. Oh my god, that's so terrible. It's so terrible. Oh god. Like I would have definitely tried to like mark some Eldar there.
Without this infrastructure and no way to gain outside support, disaster was inevitable. Many would turn inwardly to the colony, consuming themselves from the inside out. First with barbaric civil war and later total anarchy, fighting over the scarce resources that remained.
Oh, I just had to think about this story. I think it's a Nobel Prize winning story as well. I think it's from a Polish writer. Or from like a bit eastern of Germany, at least. I don't know where it's from. It's called Anyara. It's about this spaceship that gets thrown into deep space, and there's this like suddenly the humans are cut off from society and are just on their own, and it's becoming savage and depressing, and they hate everything, and the ship deteriorates. You know, it's very horrific. Like, I've not seen the movie. They made a movie about that because I'm afraid of it, because that's like psychoterror. I hate that.
The final phase often led the significantly depleted population into a feudal system of warlords and barbarism. This chaos was repeated across the majority of human worlds in this period, even including Earth. At this time on Earth, large areas across the planet had become massive cities reaching for hundreds of miles, and having become adapted to a system where all activities were conducted by machines, Earth also now relied heavily on trade from colonized worlds to support the extremely high population count.
God, that is so bad. Like, they are so effed. Like, their workers went away and their supply went away, like, in a span of what? I don't know how many years. And they're so effed. Yeah, it's like Coruscant without, like, imagine Star Wars Coruscant without trade routes reaching it anymore. They were also dead, starving, anarchy, like these primal savagery all over the planet, ripping apart buildings and stuff and people. And
additionally, much of the planet was no longer capable of food production and hadn't been for millennia. Hence the need for colonies and expansion in the first place. With the inability to travel and trade, Earth descended into a similar fate of the less advanced worlds. First panic and general disorder, and food riots, resource hoarding, and finally complete anarchy.
Yeah.
The tribal warlord system was all that remained of the few survivors left on Earth, brutal warriors who battled out across the deserts and hives of the remnants of civilization.
Jesus Christ.
This whole situation might sound unbelievable that society could collapse so quickly and to such a severe degree. But it's worth considering that in this time, human society had built itself up to be so strong in belief.
Don't tell me more, I already believe you, mate.
That they simply did not and could not have anticipated the severity of the warp storms or how they would debilitate the trade and support systems that they had been relying upon.
It's so bad, and that's like, there is the saying, too big to fail, and that's wrong. I think the saying is, so big it will definitely fail. Like, Jesus Christ, this is horrifying. Like they need to make a movie of this as well. Like they did movies. Like I want movies of so much here. So another movie like society just deteriorating, or a TV show would be so horrifying.
Human history is littered with examples of sheer arrogance outweighing logic and reason, as well as blindly staring down dangerous facts in favour of belief in our own self-importance.
Oh yeah, of course.
The lack of planning when it comes to losing their infrastructure across human systems was an acute example of human arrogance.
Is that what do you say, with the shift rotor? I don't know what's called. That's big. So they used chips, but I think in the background there's like a down spaceship. So well, at least they had the solar system, like they could go to their colonies, perhaps mine some asteroids. I don't know. Raise some.
It would now seem as well that whatever had protected human psyches from demonic possession would now end. It's my speculation that, as previously stated, the Emperor was what provided this shielding, even though
he looks
was
cool.
not known to humanity at
Let's
this
call
time.
him Bob.
For he knew the power, importance, and value of human psyches in the dark times that would lie ahead.
Wow, he looks
Without this bubble of protection that had invisibly existed prior to this time, humanity's weak psyches would be consumed, possessed, and go completely insane, causing chaos among isolated, colonized worlds.
And you have to also consider that, their shield broke away or whatever happened, and they all like go mad and savage and primal. So it's even worse. And they will probably start thousands of cults and stuff. So, oh god. Demons everywhere.
This period of complete anarchy would last for some 5,000 years. And during this time, many colonies would forget their family out in the galaxy. As well as losing vast amounts of technology and knowledge.
Only just legends left.
The glory of humanity would remain, preserved on the advanced worlds who were capable to survive this dark time. By the 28th millennium, almost all traces of civilization on Earth were gone. Instead, techno-barbarians battled one another over the scraps of the ancient human race. Mars, however, was one of the few worlds to undergo a different process.
Okay. First of all, so we turned Earth into Mad Max, and second, what the frick is this thing? Like, this is... Oh, this is so horrific. Have you ever seen a movie or a show or anything that depicted this like in a way that you could like see it as a video or stuff? Because I've seen images like this often, but never like in moving images. Like I think there was this game once. Like I know games that had stuff like this, like Quake 4, I think it was, and also Prey, the original one, but. Other than that, this is very, very, very horrifying. Like, what did they do? Like, oh god. I hate these techno-merge things. I know you told me it's normal for them, but ugh.
After a brief period of anarchy, the tech priests of the cult Mechanicus emerged victorious over the Psyker mutants, and then unified their homeworld.
Oh yeah,
the priests visited Earth, but upon seeing its barren destruction, wrote it off as unsalvageable.
Nope, we're not going to deal with that.
They used titans they had to help them in the future reunification of man. They would also be one of the few worlds to reach out and recolonize planets in this time. Using their knowledge of the warp, they chose moments of calm amid the storms of the time in the warp to travel through and establish new forge worlds.
Oh god.
These were replicas of the tech homeworld of Mars and enabled them to continue support and recovery of the technology of man, as well as production of munitions and simpler war machines.
Wow, look at that, look at this. What is that? It's like space elevators up to this planetary ring. Very cool design. I like that. So Mars so humanity started from Mars again, which is nice. Never heard that idea. Very cool. Also, the sun expands.
But for humanity, its golden age was over.
But not in this
dark age of technology had fallen apart catastrophically. Many of the weapons that once served mankind brought us to near destruction and turned lush garden worlds into irradiated deserts.
Oh god.
Mechanical factory worlds into dystopian nightmares, beautifully advanced and artistic colonies turned into barbaric, nightmarish hells devoid of all morality.
Oh great.
The Age of Strife
Yeah,
was
you
upon
don't need
mankind,
morals if you can stab
and only
people.
the further darkness of the future lay ahead. Roughly 5,000 years later, around the period of millennium 30 to 31, human society had reached a state of pitiful decay after cannibalizing itself for millennia. The Eldar had also reached the peak of their social decay, and so heralded the agonizing birth of the Chaos god Slaanesh, who would consume the majority of their population in one cataclysmic event that brought Eldar society to the brink of extinction.
Wow, yeah, this Slaanesh person thing is really very weird. But if these are the Eldar, like they look also like augmented AF. I mean, look at this one. Like, this is probably a woman. This was a woman, I guess, like female. It was a female, and now she's this. Looks like a spider, like a flight trap, and whatever the frick this dude is doing, floating there like a piece of work. And I mean, at least this person's daggers. This is a Twi'lek, so at least they've got Twi'leks. Yeah, so Slaanesh or whatever her name is, she really did a number on everything. How did they create her or it?
Society to the brink of extinction.
God, that sounds so horrific.
This horrific event, though, would have a positive outcome for mankind. It consumed all of that stored turbulent warp energy. So after thousands of years of instability, the warp returned to relative calm. Interstellar communication and travel would once again be possible for the civilization of mankind.
Help me understand this a bit. So the warp was turbulent. So normally the warp is not turbulent. It is like influenced by the minds of people, I guess. But why did so were humans too young? Were they not connected as strongly to the warp as the Eldar? Is that why the Eldar were the ones corrupting the warp and not the humans? Because I assumed it was the humans. So the Eldar corrupted the warp and made it unstable. Very interesting. And what exactly is an unstable warp? Because normally it's hell. So what is it if it's unstable? Is it just like worse hell or what? Oh, it was the Age of Strife. That was pretty dark. Like, it's just everything goes to, yeah, down the drain. Now
so
the
Age of Strife was coming to an end. But before we move forward, we need to move back some 2,000 years to M28 to M30. Humanity had now come close to the brink of destruction itself. So many worlds had fallen into disarray, starvation, chaos, anarchy.
Mad Max.
Now was the time. This would be the time where the mysterious and powerful Psyker who had wandered amongst humanity for thousands of years would come to the fore to lead humanity from an edge of unsalvageable darkness back into the light and resume their place as a meaningful power in the galaxy. Earth had by now been reduced to a chemically irradiated barren wasteland, its population slaughtered, and all that remained were degenerate feral nomads fighting for irrelevant territories. Insane wandering prophets and cyber-augmented techno-barbarians who lived for nothing other than to fight, created in the cradle of world-ending war.
Okay, sorry that I paused twice there, but what I wanted to say is, I didn't want to interrupt him here. So yeah, Earth is effed, but I thought the Emperor emerged when they discovered warp, not when warp. So he emerged when they were like when warp was destroyed for humans. Or perhaps it's both. Perhaps we don't know. Perhaps that's contradictory source material. Perhaps I don't know, but I'm sure I'll find out down the line what's the real thing.
Frail empires would rise and disintegrate as quickly and forgettably as they had risen. No tribe or faction had enough power or resources to make any meaningful stand, and so it went on, pathetic fighting over the remnants of a ravaged world.
Yeah, what else are you gonna do? Oh no.
Out of this seemingly endless horror
glory
came a
to the
single man, a warlord like no other. His title in these early days is unknown, but we would know who he would rise to become, the Emperor of Man. He would first conquer and then rebuild humanity, leading it into the light, saving it from itself to form his autocracy, known as the Imperium of Mankind.
How? Like, did he go up to some barbarians and was like, hey, I'm your god? No, you're not. Oh. Hey, I'm your god. Yeah, fine, man, fine. Like, don't kill me like that, dude. I'm gonna follow you. And then he followed them. Or did they feel something in him? Like, what was his psychoness, whatever, drawing them to him? Like, why did they start to follow him? He seems to be pretty robust and pretty good against damage. I mean, he lived for a long time, so yeah, how did that happen?
Unlike so many before him, though, he had power not only as an unstoppable warrior, but in many other traits such as rational thinking, tactics, philosophy, economics, compassion, foresight, and perhaps most importantly, a genius of science, everything and more that would be required for a supreme leader. The Emperor, though, fought not for selfish personal gain or bloodlust of war like all the other scattered remnants of humanity left on Earth. He had selfless, higher goals to restore humanity spiritually, intellectually, and physically, to revert us to a time of strength and prosperity.
So he is the benevolent dictator. At least that's how he started, probably. It's the Leto story a bit. I see a lot of the warm in him here currently. Like he wants to lead us into a great, beautiful future, but he's like, he has to sacrifice stuff and he's not thinking of himself. Yeah.
These were the years of the Unification Wars. The Emperor had long held a facility deep in a range of mountains previously known as the Himalayas. This was his most significant stronghold and would later become the Imperial Palace. Here he experimented with genetics as well as developing and constructing weapons and armour for his warriors. In the earliest days, he would physically and genetically augment some of the most powerful barbarians. These humanoids would become known as the Thunder Warriors.
Oh.
The very first of their kind and the most basic template for what would eventually become the Imperial Space Marines, the Astartes, the greatest warriors in the galaxy.
I mean, of course you take random barbarians, re-educate them and like power them up. Of course that's what you do. So yeah, and then he starts to conquer. I see.
Under unsurmountable pressure from the Emperor's army of Thunder Warriors, the barbaric factions fell quickly and humanity was united on old Earth for the first time in centuries. This, however, would come at a terrible cost for the Thunder Warriors themselves.
Why?
And is one of the least known, yet darkest events for mankind.
What?
In order to unify Earth and bring humanity back on the path of advancement and strength, the Emperor had found it necessary to in part cleanse the savagery that had grown on the war-torn planet.
Yeah.
This sadly meant the death of many arguable innocents during the Unification Wars, as well as the eradication of the last remaining religious church on Earth, known as the Church of the Lightning Stone. The Emperor is known to have personally spoken to the last remaining priest before bringing in his new age of enforced secular rationalism and the ideology known as the Imperial Truth.
Okay, so they've got an Imperial Truth. Sounds like 1984 a bit. Though I guess he has like, normally I guess a dictator would be quickly corrupted and stuff because they are human, but he's like a transhuman, like he transcends humanity, so he might be better. Still harsh that he killed so many people for that, but I guess, I mean, if the race has to survive, like it's like the wolf pack that kills the weak ones, so to speak, you know, it's, I get it.
This essentially tells that humanity are now those destined to be the rulers of the galaxy. The Eldar had their chance and failed, and now humanity are the best set to take their place as the dominant force.
I mean, the Eldar kind of screwed themselves when they created this weird woman with big personality and yeah, I mean, I get their reasoning. You have the Eldar here. What did they even do? It's so weird.
This ideology would soon be brought to all the scattered worlds of humanity in the long crusade that was yet to come. Now, the official version of things tells how the last battle of the Unification Wars takes place on Mount Ararat. This siege to cleanse the last of the techno-barbarians from the ruined wastes on Earth and finally bring it back to a time of peace and growth was said to be so brutal that waves of Thunder Warriors fell against the rocks in resistance, were slain to a single man, the legendary warrior Arik Taranis, the Lightning Bearer.
Okay, Ararat is where the Noah's Ark is supposedly crashed, I think. So why that place? Why did they try to build their own ark there? Like, did they choose the place because of that, and they like built their rebel fortress, named it the Ark, and tried to like nuke the whole rest of the planet, perhaps? So we've got the Lightbringer here. So we've got a new named character. I think that's the second named character I know.
He would raise the banner of lightning to mark the end of the Unification Wars, setting in place the rule of the Emperor of Man, before he too would fall to fatal wounds suffered in this battle of legend.
Yeah.
As with many things, the official version is not the end of the story. The actuality of the event was darker and far more sinister.
Oh, even
more? The
more?
Emperor knew that in order to restore peace, growth, and a sense of civilization to his new and expanding empire, he would require a more stable and balanced force than the Thunder Warriors, who were essentially just adept brutes recruited from the wasteland, albeit clad in the earliest Imperial armor. In a necessary betrayal, the Emperor realized that in order to safeguard what he had achieved, his army of barbaric fighters could not exist past this time. It is believed that he actually ordered the many Thunder Warriors who had survived the final battle to be slaughtered by his elite guard, and possibly even some of the early proto-Astartes, who were at this time far advanced beyond most of his standard force.
How though? How did he create those? I thought he just said the Thunder Warriors. Where did the other ones now come from, like his guard? Where are they coming from? I get it though, that's clever. I would have done probably the same thing, because savagery belongs in a time of war. And this kind of savagery belongs in the kind of time where there are tribal wars, which you don't need anymore. You need other savagery to conquer the universe, I guess so.
This terrible secret has been concealed from the people of the Imperium for more than 10,000 years, and were it ever to be revealed, the consequences could be unimaginably disastrous. The Emperor, though, saw this necessary evil had to come to pass for the greater good. A sacrifice of the few to save the many who would come. The Thunder Warriors were built for war, and war alone, and would not be able to adapt to a time of peace, and could even have turned a vital tool into a dangerous, unstable threat that could unbalance all that he had achieved. In order for the next stage of his plans, he also required that humanity rally behind him as the sole and most powerful force.
Yeah. So he wanted true peace, because otherwise he wouldn't have done it. Otherwise he wouldn't have reasoned that he needs to get rid of the warrior guys. Because in peace you don't need them. So interesting. I didn't think he really wanted peace. Shouldn't he know that that's unachievable, because there are like things like Necrons out there and stuff?
The slaughter of the Thunder Warriors was not the last act of betrayal, though, by the Emperor. He would then take the necessary glory that he had near single-handedly reunified Terra. This distortion of the truth, while hugely distasteful, does appear largely necessary to reunite the whole of humanity and create the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. Nonetheless, should the truth ever arise, it would at best split apart the Imperium and at worst destroy it. These choices by the Emperor are important to remember in the context of his character, as it can lead to certain logical speculations regarding future events. Some Thunder Warriors, though, would find fate on their side and escape this mass killing and live on as homeless unknowns, seeking out a miserable existence at the bottom of society. Honours forgotten, their deeds meaningless. All the while fearing constant discovery from the Imperium and certain death.
That's tragic.
This heartless betrayal was surely one of the darkest periods in Imperial history.
What the frick does he have in his jar here? What's that? I mean, that's a planet. Looks like a bit like Earth. I think this could be Africa, Europe, and but why are there things in jars? Oh god, look at the worm. Chihuluta is in the glass. Why?
They were never hunted, though, in any significant way. The Emperor believed them all dead, and besides, they were far more important tasks at hand, as the Emperor now gathered a team of gene wrights salvaged from the few remaining humans on Earth. These were men with practical knowledge of genetics to aid in his development of the new Astartes Project.
Yeah, the Primarchs.
Those Thunder Warriors who did escape were not like the Astartes of the 41st millennium. They were genetically unstable, and most significantly, they only had a minimally extended mortality beyond that of a regular human.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, you don't need people in war. Like, that's, again, probably the same reason. You don't need them in peacetime, so let them die. Like, don't prolong their lives.
Unlike the Space Marines, who can live on for thousands of years. The Emperor had been working for decades on his Astartes project, deep within his mountain facility. Here he would create the vital foundations that would springboard humanity into a new age. His experiments would create the 20 Space Marine legions, known as the Legiones Astartes, as well as 20 Primarchs to lead each legion.
Yeah,
these 20 supreme leaders of the soon-to-come Space Marine legions were crafted by the Emperor using samples of his own arcane genetic code as the base. It is obviously unknown the depth of which the Emperor used his own DNA to create the Primarchs, but later findings through ancient Imperial records do hint that he spliced multiple DNA types together, even going so far as to introduce some animal DNA into the Primarchs.
Yeah, of course he did. Of course he did all of that. Like, it's all the worst things you could do. Like, from I don't know, that's like, why do I say that? I don't even know why I say that, but that's the, like, those are taboo things always in fiction. Like, introduce animals and splice a lot of stuff together to create some mumbo-jumbo stuff.
And this would explain why some, such as Leman Russ, would display the wolf-like qualities, and why these would then become present throughout the Space Wolves Legion and chapter.
Wow, that looks so cool. So he's got a weird bear wolf with him, and they have like these. Okay, so this is, what is the Zweihänder? Might be a Zweihänder. I don't know. And they have pyramids. Why do they have pyramids? I thought Necrons had pyramids. Might just be that cultural thing here.
It's difficult to speculate on the Emperor's true goals here, and even if he was successful in the mixing of DNA in this way, it seems highly experimental, and perhaps he himself was not sure of the final result. This period of intelligent design was hasty and somewhat improvised given the dire situation facing mankind. It needed to repopulate its military power in order to springboard and take stage fights forward to reconquer the colonies.
Yeah, there are the angels again. Like, someone tried to explain it to me. I don't think I got it fully, but why are they angel guys? Like I was told they're like counter demons, but what exactly are they? Like, this is so weird. Oh, and look at are these titans or already dreadnoughts?
Another point of speculation is how closely the Primarchs were imbued with spiritual elements and others such as unnaturally skillful charisma and so on. Still though, in creating the Primarchs and even taking small elements of the Emperor's DNA, it imbued them with these demi-godlike characteristics.
Yeah.
It also explains why at this time the barely known forces of chaos would seek out and scatter the developing Primarchs before the Emperor's plans could grow into fruition.
Yeah, they were so dangerous.
Little is known of this Primarch scattering event, but it has been suggested that the dawning forces of chaos felt this expanding power from humanity to threaten them, and in an effort to slow or negate it, they reached out into the mortal world to seize and scatter the fetal Primarchs across the galaxy.
So did a god do that? Like, did one of the chaos gods do that? Or was it like just a swarm instinct that drove them to like just spread them across the galaxy? Galaxy, yeah. I don't know.
Each world they found themselves on would surely in time come to realize that they were far from normal, often finding themselves as a natural leader in command of the systems that would become their home.
Yeah.
Later the Emperor would one by one discover and reunite the Primarchs with their legions, establishing one of the most powerful military forces the galaxy had ever seen.
Yeah.
The Thunder Warriors, though, were undoubtedly the early prototypes for the Astartes Project, which subsequently makes their untimely end all the more tragic, as their sacrifice was so great, yet the memory of them was totally obliterated.
Yeah, that's tragic. I was about to say what is tragic about this. Like, they had some savages, they were pretty powerful, he used them, and then they were of no use anymore. Why is that? Like, they probably didn't fought, like, why did they fight even? Did they know what, like, were they fighting for unity of humanity, or were they just fighting for their leader to eradicate all other clans? Like, was it a tribal thing they wanted, or was it a greater good? I'm not sure. Might have been both, actually.
The Astartes Project would continue in a pragmatic manner. Each of the early legions at this time contained barely a few hundred marines. Their equipment was lightweight and somewhat improvised by comparison to later standards. They trained their minds and bodies to be the will, might, and rule of the Emperor. Time would pass and their numbers grew. Each legion was divided not only for organizational reasons, but also for practical reasons. Because of their adapted genetics that were drawn from the Primarchs, some carried traits and psychological behaviors which would not have been found comfortable comparison with their sibling legions. This segregation also allowed them to focus their bond to their brothers in their own legion, creating a near unbreakable kinship between Astartes.
Okay, that's cool. So they are like brethren, and I love these designs. That's why I paused. This time I just paused for the designs, not for rambling about the lore. So I've seen the Omega symbol, so they're like dark side friends. I know, of course not, but this guy looks like a Roman, like Caesar or Augustus, and they look like, why do they have the helmets like this? And he's got an axe, pretty good, to like hit stuff with it. I still wonder why they have swords. Like, this looks like a normal sword. Why would you have a sword? Like, can they cut through armor with swords? Like, I know some have chainsaws, that makes sense, but why do they use swords? Is that better against Tyranids? Like, wouldn't a smashing weaponry always be better? I'm not sure. Someone who is a weapon expert might help me here.
If the newly created Astartes would be the Emperor's scalpel, his gleaming pinnacle of human achievement, then the Thunder Warriors were certainly a mace used to bludgeon the remnants of humanity back into submission.
Yeah.
The Thunder Warriors were genetically stronger though, tougher, and could even be stronger in battle than the newly created Astartes, which is something people often forget.
That's
interesting.
interesting.
They were a rough, brutal instrument, but ultimately a temporary solution to a violent problem.
Yeah.
The Space Marines would serve not only as a weapon, but as beacons to mankind, a glimmer of what humanity could hope to be.
Yeah, they're more angel-like or more godly, divine. Because the others were savages, as I've said 1,000 times now, and these are not savages. Like, they have structure, order, they have this military might that's like, they might have an honor. I think they have an honor code, something like that probably. They are like just doing what the Emperor wants, so to speak, to further the goal of humanities, the goals of humanity. Pretty badass, and they are like half angels, I think. Some people thought of them as demigods. Like, I know the Primarchs were thought of as demigods, but I guess these guys as well. So yeah, it's completely different. Like, the view is like savage versus nobility almost. It's very interesting.
The dark times to come, however, would show that this was a misplaced belief, that while the Space Marines were created to represent the pinnacle of human development, they ultimately proved as susceptible to the basic flaws of mankind as any other mortal. The Emperor's campaign on Earth would now come to a close. He began establishing the fundamental elements of a civilized, modernized society in government administration, economy, and infrastructure. An important figure in this process was a man known as Malcador, the Sigillite.
Okay, let me guess. That's Malcador the Sigillite. I don't know what any of that means, but he looks like he's having a hard time on... Okay, he's having a hard time sitting down, let's say it like that. He has some light energy, and he has a scepter or something. So, Malcador, what are you up to, mate?
He had a vast knowledge of such matters and carried himself with the bearing of a priest. He was appointed to run the courts and palaces of the new empire, the right-hand man of the Emperor. Earth would turn from a place of desolation and horror to one of active production, rebuilding, and planning.
I love
Some
the
might call it coincidentally convenient, but at this time, a vast shockwave would travel through the galaxy, the birth of Slaanesh. Humanity would have no idea of the significance of this, only that it cleared the storms from the warp that had isolated and ruined humanity's gloriously technologically advanced empire.
What? Okay, now I'm really confused. You have to help me here. I thought Slaanesh was the one who disrupted the warp so badly, and then the Eldar like died out or whatever, were like struck down, and that's when she did not have power anymore to draw from. And then they calmed down again. And now it says it calmed down because she was born. So was it like the Eldars, whatever they did, created her and like the birthing event was what like disrupted everything, and then when she was birthed, it like stopped again. Is it like that? Is it like when a chaos goddess or goddess is born, like warp gets unstable or what? I'm so confused here. But I guess I will find out in another video.
Again though, we could speculate that the Emperor had foreseen these events and the necessity of preparing Earth for this time. On Mars, the humans of the cult Mechanicus, that is those who worship machines, would become aware of this unification on Earth, as information through distant communication and physical observations.
Yeah,
they viewed
they can look at
as a man in alignment with their own agenda.
Oh, that's lucky.
During the Dark Age of technology, had been a planet with a single purpose.
What are they?
A powerhouse of production for this age, consolidating ships and weapons, including the vast Titans, hundreds of feet tall, gigantic bipedal war machines whose very presence could end conflicts before they began. Since the end of this age, cults had risen across Mars, and the most prevalent of these was the Mechanicus, whose ideology included the veneration and acquisition of these ancient but highly advanced technologies from the period known as the Dark Age of technology. During the period of isolation known as the Age of Strife, Mars had undergone a similar societal collapse comparable to that of Earth. With all trade cut off, they had insufficient water and food to supply the populace. A civil war would follow, as well as the collapse of some planetary infrastructures that shielded their little remaining hydroponics and food production systems. This would lead to a further collapse of the already fragile supporting systems.
But Mars has enough water, I guess, for like they probably were quite a lot of people then when why would they not have enough water? I mean, polar cups of Mars are pretty big, I guess, so can't they like use that? I mean, of course they collapsed. I mean, that by itself per definition made them like go into a dark time, but yeah, I don't know, it's a bit weird. Why?
The Techs, an established Mechanicum, decided the best way to survive this apocalypse would be to retreat into underground bunkers which had been mined out, creating vast cities below the surface. Little is known at this time, but evidently prior to their seclusion, the Mechanicum Techs were a cult who would bear a respect and drive to recover, protect and utilize the lost technologies of mankind.
Something good.
Upon their rise from the subterranean depths, they had in this time translated this over into a complete faith. The tech priests of the Mechanicum, along with their troops, would very quickly subdue the insane irradiated savages who remained on the surface, and begin the process of rebuilding and redeveloping Mars to be completely self-sufficient.
So what was their belief? That technology is God? Something like that? Don't tell me. I will find that out because there is another video I'm going to watch about the tech priests. So I will learn it there, but that's a question I have currently.
This, in combination with their access to some of the most powerful war machines ever forged in the galaxy, would without doubt leave the Mechanicus in a position of some power.
I've seen that symbol.
The Mechanicus, who are now becoming aware of this Emperor figure who had surfaced on Terra, a man of science and technology, this was obviously appealing to the Mechanicus, and some tech priests on Mars even began to suggest that the Emperor was a man of such power as to rival their own machine god and fulfill an ancient prophecy in their faith of techno-mysticism.
That's convenient. That's very convenient that fit. Did the Emperor of Men know? Like, communicating with Mars shouldn't be that bad. I mean, it's like 7 minutes light signals travel, I think 7 minutes? Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps it's more or less, but or 20, I don't remember. But like they travel for some time, but you can communicate, so I don't know. But yeah, I've seen that symbol. I think Michael has it as a profile pic. So shouts to you. Seen that. And yeah, so this is the symbol of the tech priests or of the unification after the tech priests joined the Emperor because they thought he was the machine god. Whatever that means.
Debates raged on Mars between the priesthood regarding how to treat this new development. All the while, the Emperor, bearing his power of immense foresight, would not be ignorant of the Mechanicum, and he slowly and steadily would begin to craft his new plans accordingly.
Okay,
plans for a crusade on a galactic scale never before seen. Its purpose? To locate the lost Primarchs, to reunite the territories of humanity, forge a new imperial empire, and thrust the Imperium of Man into a position of complete dominance and power throughout the galaxy.
Only the galaxy though, why not the universe?
The Emperor's plan was one of absolute submission. Anyone who stood against the Imperial truth would be cleansed and destroyed. The Mechanicum of Mars were one of the few exceptions.
Oh,
The Emperor knew that any battle to try and claim dominance over the cult Mechanicum would be hugely counterproductive.
Yeah, it's
Even
too
if
many
he could claim
casualties.
victory over them,
Too
the
many
cost to his
casualties.
new Astartes force would be severe
Obviously.
and unjustified.
Obviously.
So he planned instead to offer a rare alliance with the Council of Tech Priests. In offering them assistance in their own goals and acquisitions
they're
of
humans
new
as well,
and lost
so-
tech throughout the galaxy, they would provide support, construction of war gear and tech to Imperial forces. They also were one of the exceptional entities to be allowed to maintain a state of semi-independence within the Imperium, a fairly unique position. The Emperor would also provide a new group of navigators to enable the Mechanicum to travel through the warp again in search of fabled STC units.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that makes so much sense. I mean, all the other guys, they're probably afraid of technology and stuff after all the bad stuff with the AI. Perhaps they remember that a bit, like in myths, like all this stuff that happened. And now they have got guys who pray to machines. That's scary, but useful. It's very useful. Like you have people that can like use the technology for the Emperor's gain. I like that. That's clever.
All of this suited the Mechanicum and Imperium in a symbiotic relationship, and an alliance was created.
That's so cool. Okay, I'm gonna stop it here because I think I'm gonna change video now for next time. I think I've got the basics now to what happened until the Crusade. I know the Crusade was like swept the galaxy and ended with Horus Heresy, I think. And if that's not correct, I will revisit this. But if it's the case that it's like that they went out to the stars, conquered again, and it ended with the Horus Heresy after they collected the primers. If that's the case, I will not continue this video, although still you should like it because it's cool. It was very well researched. Like there is some stuff I wasn't clear about that didn't like that was contradictory, like the Slanesh stuff. But I will, or Slanesh, I will read up on that though down the line because I love these wild concept beings that are just like weird and otherworldly eldritch entities. I'm so gonna get into them. I love them. Like that's my kind of stuff. So let's just leave it at that what happened here in the video. Like Slanesh was created. That's a big event, and I will get into that probably when I get to the Fall of the Elder next video. So in 2 days I will release that. And yeah, please tell me if I should do Horus Heresy after the Elder Fall, or if I should do every faction, like the video for every faction. And you can also recommend videos for the faction in the comments, and I will make a list, and I will perhaps do in the next video I will do a poll for like the faction after that. So next one will be Elders, and you can put in the comments who has a great Elder lore video and about I think it's the War in Heaven and the Elder stuff and the Elder Fall. So who has a good video on that? Write it in the comments. I will see what most people wanted. And in the Elder video, I then will look at, like, tell you the next faction, and then I will, yeah, let's do it like that. I will just ask every time about the factions, and then I will do a poll, and yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there anyway. Yeah, so this one was not so much me. I did not have so many new thoughts, I think, so I hope that wasn't too boring for you. It was just very logical. All of that was like, yeah, of course that happened, which is good. Like that's how it should be with the story. Like, of course the fall happened like that. Yeah, like I said, I'm a bit confused about the Slanesh stuff, but it's okay. I will find out down the line. Yeah, it's so cool. Like the Mars stuff is cool. The fall of Earth was cool. And yeah, I'm as well. I'm confused. The Emperor, when did he show himself? In this story, he showed, like, here he showed himself after everything went to hell. Like, not to the warp, like to human hell. And then before he said it was with the advent of warp, which is completely different. So I'm confused there. So yeah, anyway, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, consider liking, subscribing, as I said, sharing perhaps helps me out a bit. Yeah, this was a wild ride. So now basically I know a lot of, like, not a lot, I know some basics about humanity now until the Great Crusade. And yeah, we'll get to other stuff. Next time we will move on to the Eldar and then to another faction. And I will tell you next time which faction we will look at next. And yeah, I hope you have a great day, as always. And please take care of yourself. And in these times, always take care of yourself. And see you soon. Bye.